Tonight, sometime after you fall asleep, your house will make hundreds of sounds you never consciously notice. The refrigerator will hum, air will move through the vents, a car will pass somewhere outside, pipes will shift inside the walls, and then perhaps at 2:13 in the morning one of those sounds will stop. Your eyes will open, not because you heard something, because you heard nothing. For a few seconds, you'll lie completely still, listening harder than you were while asleep. The room will look exactly the same. The door will still be closed. There will be no footsteps, no broken glass, no visible danger, but your body will already have decided that something is wrong. Why? Why can silence feel more threatening than sound? Your ears are unlike your eyes. You can close your eyes. You cannot close your ears. Even while you sleep, your auditory system continues sampling the world. It learns the repeating patterns around you and quietly predicts what should happen next. The fan turns. The refrigerator vibrates. Rain strikes the window in an irregular but familiar rhythm. You are not actively listening to any of it, but your brain is. Researchers have found that when a sound is expected and suddenly omitted, the brain still produces an error response. No sound enters the ear, yet the nervous system reacts because reality failed to match its prediction. In other words, silence is not always the absence of information. Sometimes silence is information. Imagine hearing a clock tick, 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 tick. You know another tick is coming. If it doesn't, that missing sound has a shape. You feel the empty space where it should have been. The silence is noticeable because your brain had already placed a sound there. And the more reliable the pattern was, the more meaningful its disappearance becomes. For most of human history, this ability mattered far more than it does inside a bedroom. An ancient human walking through grassland was surrounded by sound: insects, birds, wind, distant animals, footsteps and voices from the group. That soundscape was not meaningless background noise. It was a constantly updating map. A bird calling from a tree told you that the bird was alive, undisturbed and still in that tree. Insects continuing their rhythm meant the local environment had not changed enough to interrupt them. The voices of your group told you where safety was. If part of that soundscape suddenly changed, the cause might be harmless, or it might not. A nearby animal may have frozen. Something may have moved into cover. Members of your group may have noticed a shape that you had not. Silence did not prove that a predator was present. Nature is much more complicated than that. But a sudden silence created uncertainty, and uncertainty was expensive. If you assumed there was no danger and you were wrong, you might die. If you assumed there was danger and you were wrong, you lost a few minutes. Evolution tends to favor the mistake that keeps you alive. So when the expected sounds disappeared, the safest response was simple: stop. Listen. Find out what changed. That ancient response still exists inside you. When a room suddenly becomes quiet, you may stop moving. Your breathing becomes shallower. Muscles in your neck and shoulders tighten. Your attention moves outward, searching for the sound that caused the silence or the sound that might come after it. Only then does the conscious explanation begin. Was that the power going out? Did someone open the door? Why did the dog stop barking? Did the person behind me leave? Your brain hates an unexplained change because an unexplained change cannot be assigned a risk. A loud sound is frightening, but at least it gives you an object. A branch breaks. Something is over there. A glass falls. Something happened in the kitchen. Silence gives you no object. It removes evidence without removing possibility. And when the brain has too little information, it does not simply wait. It generates candidates. Most of those candidates are worse than reality. That movement in the corner becomes a person. The pile of clothes becomes a crouched figure. The quiet hallway becomes occupied by something carefully trying not to make noise. Silence does not contain a monster. It gives your imagination enough empty space to build one. This is why places designed to be harmless can become disturbing when they are empty. A school during the day is filled with voices, doors, footsteps, and movement. At night, the same hallway feels wrong. Nothing dangerous has been added. Almost everything reassuring has been removed. An empty shopping center, an abandoned multiplayer game, a hotel corridor at 3:00 a.m. These places still contain the signs of human presence. Lights are on. Chairs are arranged. Doors lead somewhere. The architecture seems to expect people, but the people are missing. This creates a contradiction. The environment says humans belong here. The silence says they are gone. Crescendex used this contradiction in a video about Minecraft's peaceful mode. The game removes hostile creatures, making the world objectively safer, yet many players find it more unsettling. Without enemies, every unexplained sound feels stranger. Without visible danger, paranoia has nothing to attach itself to. The world is peaceful, but not reassuring. Safety is not merely the absence of threats. Safety is the presence of expected signals. The same mechanism operates in conversation. Imagine telling a group of friends something you believe is funny. You reach the punchline, and nobody responds. The silence may last only a few seconds, but time seems to stretch. You immediately search their faces. Did they misunderstand? Was it offensive? Do they dislike you? Have you exposed something embarrassing about yourself? Experiments on conversational flow have found that even a brief disruption can reduce feelings of belonging, self-esteem, and social validation. People can feel rejected without consciously identifying the pause that caused it. A smooth conversation sends hundreds of tiny signals. I hear you. I understand. We are still connected. A sudden silence removes all three. This may explain why a long pause is usually more uncomfortable with a stranger than with a close friend. With a friend, the relationship already exists. Silence does not necessarily threaten it. You can sit in a car together without talking and still know where you stand. With a stranger, the relationship is being constructed in real time. Every response is evidence that the construction is working. When the responses stop, you do not know whether the connection is resting or collapsing. Humans also learn to use silence deliberately. Being ignored is unusual because nothing physically happens to you. No one strikes you. No one even has to insult you. They simply stop returning a signal. But to a social animal, this can be devastating. For an ancestor living in a small group, exclusion was not merely emotional. Losing access to other people could mean losing food, protection, warmth, information, and potential partners. The silent treatment therefore touches an extremely old alarm. The group is present, but you may no longer be part of it. Even a hostile response can sometimes feel better than no acknowledgement at all, because hostility still confirms that you exist inside the other person's social world. Silence leaves the question unanswered. Have they rejected you? Are they thinking? Are they planning to leave? Did you become irrelevant once again? The mind receives an empty space and fills it with the most dangerous available explanation. There is another reason external silence can feel uncomfortable. When the world becomes quiet, you become loud. Inside a highly sound-absorbing room, people begin noticing signals that ordinary environments conceal: breathing, swallowing, joints moving, perhaps the pulse transmitted through the body. The room is not creating these sounds. It is removing everything that normally covers them. The same thing happens psychologically. Daily life gives you an endless supply of external targets: music, conversation, videos, notifications, engines, air conditioners, and podcasts. Remove them, and attention has fewer places to go, so it turns inward. Memory appears. Unfinished conversations return. Your mind rehearses future arguments and resurrects old embarrassment. Questions that could not compete with the noise finally reach the surface. This is not evidence that silence damages the mind. And despite popular stories, a quiet room does not automatically make people hallucinate or lose control. But silence removes distraction. For someone carrying anxiety, grief, or unresolved thoughts, distraction may have been doing more work than they realized. Sometimes we are not afraid of silence. We are afraid of what becomes audible inside us when everything else stops. This may be why modern humans manufacture so much sound. We play television in rooms we are not watching. We put on music to shower. We fall asleep to videos made by strangers. We wear headphones while walking through places our ancestors would have listened to carefully. Some of this is simple pleasure, but some of it may be control. Chosen sound makes the environment predictable. It covers small disturbances, fills uncertain gaps, and gives attention a safe object. If the silence cannot surprise you because you never allow it to exist, it cannot trigger the question, what changed? And if your mind is never left without external input, it cannot easily ask, what am I avoiding? Noise does not only entertain us. Sometimes it protects us from uncertainty. But there is a strange contradiction. The same silence that terrifies one person can calm another. A quiet forest can feel threatening at night and peaceful in daylight. A pause with a stranger can feel like rejection, while the same pause with someone you love feels intimate. Silence forced upon you can feel like punishment. Silence you choose can feel like freedom. The difference is not volume. It is interpretation and control. When you understand why the room is quiet, your brain no longer has to invent a cause. When you trust the person beside you, a pause no longer threatens the relationship. When you choose to sit without distraction, the thoughts that emerge may still be uncomfortable, but they are no longer intruders. Silence becomes dangerous when it arrives as an unanswered change. It becomes peaceful when no answer is required. So tonight, if the refrigerator stops humming and your eyes open in the dark, notice what happens. Your body will freeze, your attention will expand. For a moment, a nervous system built in a world of predators will search a modern bedroom for whatever changed. Most likely, nothing is there. The refrigerator has simply reached the right temperature, but your fear was not foolish. It was an ancient prediction system doing exactly what kept your ancestors alive, noticing not only what the world said, but what it suddenly stopped saying. Silence feels dangerous because it is not empty. It is a question, and until your brain finds an answer, it will assume the question matters.